Welcome back. Today we get to play with seeing beyond your current perception to live a new reality. These are big words in a way. We're all governed by our perceptions. We're all governed by certain beliefs, ideas, concepts that we've adopted. Many of us have tied ourselves into our life stream of other influencers that are in our life. Could be our family, our immediate family, could be our parents starting off with the parents, immediate family, lineages of sorts, cultural, gender-based, or anything of that nature. Of course, there's religious affiliation and so forth. All of them have provided various concepts, ideas, and perceptions that we have adopted. And now we're going through a very powerful transformation. This is why you're here. You're here because you want to be part of this transformation. And you would not have made a choice to incarnate, take on a physicality of this sort in this time of powerful transition, polarization, and so forth, unless you wanted to be part of it. But what is the part of the changes that need to occur? And that is to see beyond our current perception. As long as we are looking through the same filters, the same screen of our perception of our current reality, the shifting from that reality is very difficult to achieve. So we're going to look at seeing beyond our current perception to live a new reality. What do I mean by new reality? Well, it's a reality that is advanced than the ones that we have been experiencing so far. Now, many of us have experienced various versions of those upgrades along the way, as we've shifted not only our perceptions and let go of some of our old concepts, belief systems, and so forth, that we already started to shift. But many of us have started to access so much more consciousness, self-awareness, and also self-empowerment. Seeing this world as a playground, seeing the human experience as just that, and a human experience that has such powerful capabilities. And not only that, that reality is shaped around us by our own hands, our own beingness. Doesn't matter what you've exposed to, doesn't matter what you've seen, what is part of your reality from the moment you were born till now. It doesn't matter how many changes and challenges or anything else that played out, even the really super elevated stuff. And it doesn't matter who we engaged with or anything of that nature or been exposed to, because we always had and will always have the freedom to select and adopt any part of it to plug it into our reality creation. Many of us have felt that, okay, I need to adopt that to be accepted, to be part of it, or to play the game the same way. And in some cases also see how to understand how the game is, because we wanted to have a deeper understanding of the game. So we've had our choices. There's no mistakes whatsoever that was ever made, but whatever the choices we made brought us where we are today. And now, many of you are listening to this because you get to the point you're ready to see beyond your current perception. The perception that is reflected everywhere. Now, that perception could be of yourself. That perception could be of your connections to your, say, your partners, to your kids if there's any involved, to your families, to your work environment and so forth, but also the perception of the world, the perception of your country, your communities, and overall planetary experience. So these are the perceptions we're talking about. The new reality, it is a new creation. We're always changing our reality. We're always shaping our reality. We're always empowered to do so. However, if we are still using a lot of the older perceptions and seeing what is currently present in our perception and using that as a tool, then of course we're going to replicate over and over again with slight variance the same reality. But many of us by accessing higher consciousness, by becoming more self-aware, you are becoming more aware of your capacities to actually shape these realities. But not only that, those shifts that you've been experiencing, you also have, in one way or another, achieved another level of self-realization that now you want the reality to match the changes that are occurring within you, energetically, consciously, and so forth. Plus, we are very much connected to all of our brother sister souls on the planet and off planet. We're also very connected to our sentient beings, including Gaia, and have now realized that it's time for us to shift this reality, to bring it into alignment. We are coming out of a very powerful polarized world, a very powerful separated world where we felt isolated. And now we're bringing more and more of that oneness, self-awareness that we are all one with each other and everything exists within that oneness. So that we are now changing the reality that supports every aspect of ourselves, because there's the personal aspect, and all the other versions of people that you play with are other aspects of yourself, but also so is Gaia, all sentient beings, everything is yourself. But that realization plugs in the capacity to say, okay, let's create a reality that supports every facet of myself. It's not only localized as a separate unit as we've been playing up to this point in time and put energy into that. So we're going to go through some details, and this is in preparation for you to join us in a workshop that's coming up on the 5th and 6th of December, which is only a couple of so weeks away. And this opportunity that you have is that we're going to go through the details and also give you some tools to work with. This workshop is very integrated so that you are actually involved. And it is live streamed, but if you cannot join us live stream for those 2 days, because it is a 2-day, you can also just access the video and audio recordings. The workshop is available for you on a donation basis, which gives you a lot of freedom regardless of your situation to be able to be part of it. But today, let's take a look at what we have to offer, and let's take some tools to take away for us to continue to play. So the first thing, see beyond your current perception. What does that mean, seeing beyond your current perception? Well, it is a matter of seeing beyond whatever's being played out. It doesn't matter what your reality, what your screen is showing you. It does not matter where you are right now, what circumstances may be playing out. It does not matter what you've adopted as an idea or not. It's seeing beyond that. Seeing what we call a bigger picture. Seeing beyond your current to be able to access higher capacities to create something even grander, much more expansive, much more powerful for you to experience. And this experiencing actually not only upgrades you, but upgrades the collective, the whole playground, and so forth. So it's a matter of seeing beyond your current perception. We are all going through various things right now. Some of us are more involved in the sense of seeing everything that's going on and maybe experiencing some powerful polarization, maybe having some pretty powerful emotions coming up, maybe feeling not so great about yourself or in some way not so clear about yourself. You may feel confused beyond the fact of, what is my purpose here? What am I here to do? What gives me life? What gives me excitement? What acts as a way for me to access my creativity and imagination? To access even a higher level of freedom, a freedom where I am now free from all of the constructs and all the constraints that have been played out to this point in time. to see beyond that, because that is how we create a new reality, a new world, a new human experience. It's seeing beyond that. It's not about seeing what's going on and see how we can fix it or adjust it. No, 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 no. It's going way beyond that. That's just where you're tapping into further potentiality, but you're after higher probabilities, but you're actually plugging in consciousness and you're bringing in self-awareness of who you are and what you are capable of, and to shift all of that and plug it into your current reality. So you're basically upgrading your current reality by upgrading you, because that's the process that you're going through. You are physically going through a transformation, your human entity is going through a transformation, so is your soul. But that is also communicating with our mind, and our mind is coming more back online. It's actually opening itself up even by using its third eye and so forth to receive even more information. But to the degree it serves you. This is the thing. But at the same time, we're also, as we're observing the current perception, the current playground as it is, we're also seeing how if there's anything that comes up for us that is still kind of active and kind of pulls you back into that old world, you're getting the opportunity to see it, experience it, and let it go. Letting it go is not difficult unless we identify and attach to it and feel that, that has to govern you. So basically, it's seeing beyond your current perception. And the current is just what it is. Current. In this moment, every moment changes. We have no timelines. We have no fixed patterns that we need to adhere to any longer. So whatever is currently is completely modifiable, completely transmutable. It's completely to be redesigned in any way, shape, or form. So when we see beyond your current perception, we have the opportunity to live this new reality, to create a completely new reality. Because now we're putting aside everything that we've adopted as an idea, concepts, belief systems, and so forth, but that particular perception that is currently playing out, you're going beyond that. And then you're creating new, and you start living that new reality. I mean, everybody's talking about we're going through a shift, we're going through a transformation, we're actually redesigning our reality. How do we see beyond that? We let go of the old reality. The old reality served. The old reality brought you where you are today. The old reality was experientially enriched. Do you still need that old reality? Some people may think, I have invested time and energy and so forth that I need to hold on to it. Well, you can. You have that opportunity. But are you going to experience something new with that? Not so much. And if there is any modification, then it will still be limited in some way. However, if you're willing to let it go, it doesn't mean it doesn't, it all dissolves. It can transmute completely, transform into something much more in alignment or completely brand new. And many of you have already made some pretty substantial changes in your life because you've been feeling this for quite some time. It hasn't been outside of you. It has been presenting for you for quite some time. And you've taken action to move forward. So as I said, the thing is, you may be right here. This is you in this moment. Okay? What we call the future is basically to be designed. It does not exist. There is no timeline any longer. It hasn't for quite some time. We now can plug in along the way whatever we require to advance ourselves. But not only that, required to advance humanity also. Each of these, you can say it's a new moment, a new whatever, because the thing is, it could be a new moment, a new hour, a new day, new week, new month, new year, whatever it is. But we are moving so quickly that Each moment is brand new. And each moment that you step into one of these new moments, you already are different. And that is changing your perception. So the thing is, as much as there's no future, the future is to be designed. This gives you this tremendous amount of flexibility, tremendous amount of opportunity to shift things much more powerfully than was capable of happening before, because we did maintain collectively a certain amount of restraint, even though some of that restraint is still there, but it is much, much less, and we are also being supported energetically in a powerful way. So let's take a look at some of this. First thing, is there any better time for you to look beyond your current perception? Is there any better time than right now? Yeah, you could say I'm going to see it next month, next year, 10 years from now. I'm going to look at a new perception. But with everything that's going on right now, what do you think is the push? Why are you even listening to this? Because the time is now. There is no better time. It's presented to you, this opportunity, because it is perfect timing for you. Even though time does not exist, but the alignments energetically, consciously, and everything else is putting you in this scenario and situation and position that you are calling forth. And right now, with all that's going on, it is destabilizing a lot of our beliefs, perceptions, ideas, and concepts. Why? Because it's time to move on, and that is the reason. It would be a complete understatement to say that we are in the thick of it. We are. We're in the midst of it, and it's accentuating more and more and more, and it's showing up everywhere. How you see, how you feel, what's going on, all the different systems, organizations, and groups, and whatever else that was involved. This is a ripple effect throughout. All of this is changing because we're in the midst of it. It's all shifting. It's shattering perceptions. It's shattering ideas and concepts that were made from an old design. And I know some of you have followed my work, but the thing is, we're basically shattering, dissolving any remaining inverted matrix operating system within us. And the inverted 3D that we went to and 2D, including the AI software, which we have a name for called the ego. And that's what we're doing. We're basically at this point in time dissolving any remaining parts of this, because you have to understand every single system, every organization, every rule, law, ideas, concepts, belief systems, or whatever else is applied, including definitions and labels, pretty much was all under this banner when it was live and active. This has been running for 10,000 years. It wasn't just yesterday. 10,000 years. We had 5,000 without it. Now, when people talk about going out of the 3D, going into 5D, in fact, we're going out of inverted 3D, inverted 2D, inverted matrix, which we are already, this has been turned off, but we're going back to the organic matrix, and we're going into what we call organic 3D and organic 5D, different than the inverted. Because in the inverted, as you've noticed, especially if you've been paying attention, is all backwards. What is real is made into falsity or lie, and what is a lie or false is made to be believed as real. Everything that is to benefit you actually pushes the other way. So you're looking at it The organic matrix was to assist us to go from organic 3D, which was our starting point, all the way to basically 9D. And if everything was not, any of it wasn't modified, we would be in 7D right now. These are dimensional levels of consciousness accessibility, which also upgrades the way we play the game. But what we ended up doing is we went from this and we went into the inverted. And the organic matrix supported this. The inverted matrix did the opposite. It took you out of organic 3D into inverted 3D, which is a reverse version of it, then 2D, which is actually even more disconnected, and this actually stimulated very powerfully to see everything backwards. And that's what we're moving through. So right now, we are going through a total shakeup. We can feel that. Reconfiguration and transformation of our lives. So this transformation and all of this is going on, and shake up and so forth for our lives, all of our systems, and the world, which does affect every person on the planet deeply, deeper than we realize. Because deeply, I should say more deeply than we realize. Yes, forgot to use that word. Everybody's impacted one way or another. It's not outside of it. We're all impacted one way or another. Some are impacted much more powerfully, and you're seeing it much more powerfully happening or playing out for you because you've agreed to make it be part of your experience and to be fully integrated with that transformation that's going on. So you can see there's a shake-up in your own life, shake-up with your connections and so forth. There's a reconfiguration because we are being reprogrammed and adjusted to bring back to the original design blueprint in our lives. But all our systems, you can see, just look around. Everything is being destabilized, challenged, questioned. People are seeing behind the veil to see what's really going on, so that by that understanding, we could actually go in and turn off whatever no longer serves, which pretty well, like I was saying, does not serve any way any longer. We're just going through the process. The process can be more instantaneous, could be a lot quicker in many, many ways, personally and collectively. However, we are still using that transition, and we're using that as they change to bring in more integration within ourselves. So as I already mentioned, a lot is going on that many are seeing as upheaval. There's destabilization, chaos, confusion, and uncertainty. Whoa, big time, big time. You can see it even if, depending on where you are in the world. Basically, all over the world, we have this so-called pandemic, all all these systems being locked down, challenging you for whatever was your regular way of life, how you interact, what you can or cannot do. Also, in certain parts of the world, there's elections, and some other parts, there's other unrests where, there's chaos with conflicts and so forth. So all of that is playing out. But all of it is playing out to create that powerful shift that we've agreed to really get into it. So the next thing is, however, at the same time, there is also a feeling of excitement. Absolutely. Knowing that we're going through a redesign of our way of life. What does that mean? How many of us feel excited that there's finally change? We're breaking out of those locked up patterns, those very polarized states, feeling disconnected, feeling unable to experience life to the fullest, unable to be free to the next level of realization, to be able to express yourself more fully, to be yourself more fully. And this is the thing. And also to have the world to go into its real design where everything communicates, and there is not this controlling and the polarization where you need to judge, compare, fight, kill, do all of that stuff, and also having this idea of lack and being controlled by monetary systems, by laws and regulations and made up concepts by various affiliations and groups and so forth, and also not even getting the assistance that we require health-wise and otherwise to really bring us to that balance point within ourselves. So yeah, we're seeing all of that, but that's the exciting part of it, because all of this right now is exciting. And look, how many of you have been waiting for this? And now that you're seeing it for the longest time, yes, many of us have heard since 1987, oh yeah, we've gone through a convergence and there's going to be change. Yes, there was. There was quite a bit of change that led up. It was slower and more smaller increments, but we had made a huge shift along the way from 87 to the end of 2012, and then going from the end of 2012 into 2013, going on all the way to the end of 2019, we went through another phase. Now, some of it got extended a little further, just give us a little bit more time. But here we are in 2020, and now we're at a point where everything's even accelerating even further. It's harder to deny, and even the things that didn't even look like was even capable of existing or happening, like what we're experiencing with lockdowns, with the control structures and everything else, we would have never imagined that we would have gone to this Orwellian-looking world of sorts and everything that's being dictated. But at the same time, we're seeing it all cracking to the seams. It's pushing people to become more self-empowered, to actually see beyond all those perceptions, feeling that in some way they don't have any power or any capability. Go way beyond that. And none of it is going to interfere any longer. So this is why there's the excitement. Many of you are excited about the changes. Okay, there may be some discomfort because the changes sometimes may seem overwhelming and may seem, maybe a little hard to take, but you know something? We're not going to be having any of it that doesn't serve us in one way or another. So as much as our old world has provided us with an exciting and somewhat unique experience, and it's absolutely to come in a polarized world of this nature, where it was very difficult to be yourself because everybody was trying to keep everybody at check, where everything was an absolute reverse, where we felt so disconnected from our whole beingness. That disconnect went as far as feeling disconnected with ourselves. We're not even talking about disconnected with the planet, the sentient beings, and one another. Disconnected with our own self, disconnected from our body, from our human entity, from our soul, and even from our mind. That's how far it is. So yes, it provided a powerful experience. And yes, we've had some major polarities, major conflictive, light, dark, all of that stuff go on. So it has provided quite a unique experience that really, the uniqueness, what makes it is the uniqueness of the playground, the uniqueness of our bodies and what we represent and the souls that have come in. We have very much outgrown quite some time and we are ready to move on. And that's what's happening. That was a blast. It was cool. We had a blast. We had fun. We experienced all of this stuff. And some of you have been back here many times. Now, if we're talking about your body's been here since day one, 15,000 years ago, from that ritual. If you're talking about your human entity, same thing. It's been here from day one. It has all of those experiences. As a soul, you may have come in a few times. You may have come in quite a few times. You're probably here only for the first time. You may have never experienced human body and never experienced a playground we call Earth. So you may be coming from another quadrant or in the same quadrant of the galaxy, possibly another universe sometimes. Sometimes that's why they label starseeds and whatever else. But you may have never taken on form and stayed in non-form. There's so many options that you may have had to lead you to here. So here you are. You've come in and you had the ride, you had the blast, you enjoyed every part of it, and now you say, okay, it's time to move on. Humanity is most certainly at a tipping point. What does that mean? A tipping point. Well, some of us already have tipped. But when we're talking a collective, we're at a tipping point where we actually get to a point where we're okay to let go of all of the old world, all of the old realities, old creations, and stepping into the new. And that's what we're doing now. We're right at the tipping point. This is why all of this destabilizing, this disconnecting and so forth, of letting go of that old world and what it represents for us and our ties to it. And even the connections we have with people and so forth, all of that. So we are definitely at a tipping point, and it's really, really powerful time to really connect and go look beyond your perception. There appears to be a divide in humanity, which further accentuates the choice point that is upon us. Yes, you can see. You can actually see the divide. There's the ones that want to move forward and the ones that want to stay back. The ones that are actually opening up their consciousness, the ones that are afraid and want to stay in that state. The ones that are demonizing each other, and really accentuating the polarity. And the other one that's starting to bring it together where the polarity is no longer, that powerful for them, and they're seeing a bigger picture. Right now, and this accentuation that we're experiencing is necessary and beneficial for us in a very powerful way to really bring forth something quite profound. So we're seeing the divide and the accentuation. Why? Because it puts us in the position to make a choice. Sometimes when we're comfortable or uncomfortable, but not that uncomfortable, we tend to postpone. We tend to kind of ignore certain things. This is why we sometimes have our repeat challenges in a more intensified each time, because then you get to the point and say, okay, I'm not holding on anymore. I'm ready. I'm just going to let it go. Wherever it goes, because I'm going to be navigating this. So that's the thing. It's giving you the point of the choice point. Am I ready or not? Am I going to let go or not? Am I stepping into going beyond my perception and creating new reality or not? And if it's not, you may not right now, but you may later on. Or you're just going to take a little baby step. Each step is perfect, depending on how far you go. We are pushing ourselves to look beyond all of the narratives and the view and view the bigger picture, not to miss this instrumental opportunity. Doesn't matter what the narratives are or what it has been and what you've been involved in, whatever narratives, ideas, agendas, concepts, whatever that was. What we're doing is we're pushing ourselves to look beyond it. We're no longer stopping at what's there. We're seeing beyond it. Through beyond, it opens up a whole platform. We are in this new world, and it's up to us to use this whole world. Of course, right now we're looking at it, but we're not really looking at it because we're still looking at a lot of the perceptions and ideas and concepts. Now, some of us have already started looking way further beyond, so that in that opportunity, they're using this opportunity to be able to see the bigger picture and make this a very instrumental time for you to create a shift within yourself, within all your playmates, within the planetary scape. And that's what we're doing right now. So we are pushing ourselves, and that's why the extremes, and this is why it can seem somewhat insane because of that. It can be a challenge in itself, as we are all being bombarded with news and information that can pull you in many, many directions, can distract you, scatter you, and overwhelm you. We are definitely bombarded very polarized bombardment, very powerful information to, yes, some of it is opening our eyes and giving us a little bit more clarity, but the majority is pushing us back into the old world, pushing it so that we're using our emotions to limit ourselves, govern ourselves, to restrict ourselves around fear and whatever else. So all of that is playing out right now. So by being aware that all of this stuff that's being bombarded is possibly confusing our directions and pushing us one direction or another and creating distractions, scatter, and overwhelm, the realization of that actually gives you the empowered state to choose if you're going to allow that to control your reality, to shape your reality, for you to get immersed in it. You can visit it, but you don't have to get into that. So yes, it can be challenging, but at the same time, it's very powerful and very instrumental. How is it possible to stay grounded during such seeming chaos? Well, it'd be a good question that we will discover and play with during the workshop on the 5th and 6th of December. However, I'll give you something. How do we stay grounded? There's two levels of grounding. The level of grounding that more people are aware of is grounding to Gaia, grounding to the planet, to the sentient beings, to nature. That provides a certain level of grounding. But the next higher level of grounding is grounding with yourself. From a heart space, you're basically grounding with the highest aspect of your soul, your human entity, and your body's innate consciousness. But the main thing is to basically ground with yourself. You do that when you're meditating, when you're going into that quiet space and you connect with yourself. Now you're getting into that inner consciousness, that inner awareness, that energy of sourceness, that awareness of sourceness within you. So then when you're grounding with yourself, which has a powerful calmness, not the ego mind, that does not give you calmness, because that is very polarized, very active in playing that. But when you're connecting with yourself, then what you're doing, you can see the world playing and dancing around you, and you're not swayed by it, you're not impacted by it, and it's not taking you from one direction to another as it would normally when we are now attaching ourselves to whatever we're seeing, hearing, and whatever's playing out. How do we adjust to all the changes taking place without giving up our freedom? It's a good one. How do we adjust without giving up our freedoms? You never have to give up your freedoms. You adjust because you maintain that freedom, and while you're maintaining that freedom and that grounding within yourself, you can now make adjustments to your reality without diving or giving yourself away to anybody else or to some idea, concept, or belief system or any system. And that's how you do it. We're going to go into deeper with that. We're going to also do processes around that in the workshop. So I just wanted to give you a tidbit here at this point in time to give you some tools of some sort. So, how do we adjust with the changes? Flow. Connect with yourself. Just flow with things. Pay attention as the observer. What pulls you one way or another, what has a charge of some sort, as positive, negative, or whatever it is, and use that to say, okay, I'm not going to go into any of that. I'm going to maintain my own self-guidance, self-direction. All right. So how do we start to live and create the most aligned reality for ourselves in the world? How do we start living and creating. It's about you tapping into your creativity, your imagination. Okay? We already have within ourselves an awareness of what your true essence, purpose, and what you have here, not only to what to experience, but what to contribute in your design. So we start living by being ourselves fully, not facades that we may have applied, not because somebody says you need to be this way or not, or not using what other people are telling you, or the fact that what you've learned or adopted from the media, adopted from education, adopted from other playmates. You don't use any of that. It doesn't matter if you've used it up to now, you're going to start to remove all of those out of the equation so that you align with yourself in the most powerful way. Because the thing is, when you're aligning with your truer essence, then your reality starts to shape accordingly. And then you're also aligning with the worldscape. Because as we are becoming ourselves, we're not only advancing ourselves, but we're also providing a stream of advancements to the collective. So it's going to start impacting more and more. Now, look at it this way. Some of the changes we're going in through right now, or possibly a good portion of the changes that are happening right now, and the stimulation, destabilizing, all of that stuff that's going on right now, in very much, or in a very powerful way, is because many of us have already started to be ourselves for quite some time, and some just more recent than, and started to see the world very differently from a higher perspective of themselves, to be able to see something much more powerful for themselves, and streaming that by just experiencing. So you're actually becoming the example. We will be going more in depth with the exploring of your true self and broaden your perspective. We're going to be looking at that as we go through it, through the workshop. While we're accessing all the is necessary to move through these times with more ease and fluidity, without utilizing the full opportunity of advancements you have provided yourself. So, while accessing all these my tongue sometimes I trip over. All that is necessary to move through these times with more ease and fluidity, while utilizing full opportunity of the advancements you have provided yourself. We have provided ourselves huge opportunity of advancements. Advancements that has never been experienced before. Not on any other planet and not on planet Earth. This advancement that we're going through is completely at a level that has not been designed and experienced before. So it's going to be quite profound in utilizing every part of it. Because moving with ease and fluidity is our natural state. Very much so our natural state. And it doesn't matter what our playground is. When you're in that grounded state, when you're actually in the observer state, whatever's around you does not impact you. And many of you have noticed that already in different instances. Some of you already are living more of that at this point in time. But what we're looking at as we're going along, as we are moving forward in our own shifting that we're going, you're going to notice that becomes more and more natural, because it is your natural state, but we've kind of taken it out of the equation for a period of time, and we haven't been experiencing it in a natural state because of that. But that's coming back into you. You have tremendous inner resources available waiting for you to transform your current reality. We're infinite. The amount of resources that we've already made preparations to utilize, also resources from other aspects of ourselves, even our twin and whatever else that we are connected with, our oversouls that we're connected with, our soul families that we're connected with, but also the resources that we brought in from the dimensions that we've come in with, what we've agreed to keep an open channel with, but also the consciousness awareness that we have, the innate aspect that we have, not only within our body, our human entity, the soul, mind, but also our the hard drive we call the planet at this point in time. Are you ready to take part and step and shine as a powerful change agent that you are? Many of you have been called for some time. Some are just receiving the call now. Are you ready? So the question is, are you ready to become that change agent? Are you ready to start the changes within you? And if you've already started it, which many of you have for quite some time and some less, to move it up to the next level and beyond, and to become that change agent. So this workshop that we have coming up on the 5th and 6th of December, live streamed and available also in video and audio. The workshop is specifically designed to provide you what you need along your journey at different stages. So it's designed to give you exactly what you need as we are moving forward personally and collectively. The content and the tools are upgraded to the day of the workshop to provide you with the latest. Any and all workshops that I have ever done, any and all retreats that I have ever done, anything that I've shared online is always the most current, updated state possible, because it's always upgrading. Even when I am talking about certain things, it is upgrading to the latest. It's not canned. It's not something that in one way or another has been prepared a long time ago and it's just being repeated and giving you the opportunity. No, it's the most current. The most current, and a lot of times it takes leaps forward so that it actually prepares you for stuff that we haven't even accessed yet, that we are going to. So the workshop is very, very powerful, and it's an opportunity for you to really utilize it to your highest capacities. So some of the things that we're going to be covering together during the workshop. We're going to do a process to bring you to your current moment and access your highest version. I don't know if you've heard, but you have many versions of you. Each version has a different frequency. Each version has a different access point of consciousness. Each version has higher awareness and also observer state. We're going to bring in the highest version of you, the highest version combination of your body, of your human entity, your soul, and mind. We're going to bring in the highest version and bring you to the current moment, because that's where the action is. The current moment is all that exists. And I've said it many times, okay? This is your current moment. This is your present. Let's call it that. Oops. Present moment. This is your present. This is your past. This is your future. So let's say future and past. Well, the past does not exist any longer. It doesn't exist the next moment. We may have a memory. We may have an imprint of what it looks like, what it felt like, what we've labeled it for, what we defined it for, or just have a memory itself of the past, okay? But it doesn't exist. The only time we can actually relive or experience the past is actually reconstructed. But you have to understand, you can never reconstruct it exactly the same. You create somewhat of a copy, but the copy is never going to be exact, because each moment, the planetary and your frequency and your consciousness and the collective consciousness is changing. It's upgrading. So for you to go back and say, I want this, you'd have to lower yourself in accessibility of consciousness and lower yourself to the point of the frequency of that point. But then the planet's not going to respond there. You can only bring yourself there. But the thing is the planetary frequency. So regardless of whatever we do, it's never going to be the same. Any regressional stuff that I've done with people over the years, okay, when it's looked at, it never looks the same. There's always a variance. You may have a memory of it, but you can't recreate it. As for the future, this is your present. As the future, it doesn't exist. You're creating it one moment at a time. And we don't even have fixed timelines anymore. So we're creating each moment. So what are we going to do? We're going to bring you to the most current moment. We're going to bring you to the present moment. And then we're going to access your highest. So that's the first process we do. We're going to pull away from the different narratives and shifting focus. The narrative, meaning what is being projected, is what is happening on the planet, who's in control. If it goes one way, it's going to be better. If it goes the other way, it's not going to be better. We're going to do processes and hence walking through where we're going to let go of that. So whatever is being projected, we're making that as an illusionary possibility that we do not have to feed or empower, so that we actually can shift away from it so it doesn't have any control over us. And the shifting focus, because of course we're going to get the focus of what the media is saying, what this is saying, what somebody else is saying, and whatever else, and it's flipping. Okay, this is good, this is bad, this is bad, this is good. It's always going back and forth and demonizing each other and potential fears and whatever else is going on. So we're going to look at that, and we're going to play with that. We're going to do some unraveling from the inverted matrix system and world. Whew, that's a cool one, because you're going to unravel. We're going to untangle ourselves, the invested energy and focus, and also the entanglements of the cords and so forth that we've created. So we're going to be working with that. The ease of getting lost in the ego. We're going to look at that, how easy it is to get lost in the ego and create a reality based on that, which we've all have been doing all these years and are still doing it today. Many of us have shifted enough to a point where it only plays a smaller role. It can probably just taint it, or sometimes we get lost in it. And of course, you could see it when the ego takes you for a ride. It goes back to separation, goes back to polarity, it goes into the right, wrong, good, bad, and all of that stuff that's going on. And the thing is, the ego mind has been there so long as your friend, and when we say your friend, basically it's been the voice you've been hearing the loudest and the most, because it tends to do so, you know. So we're going to look at that, and we're going to see how we can actually use it to unravel from that. Shifting focus from fear, looking at how to shift and do some process of shifting away from fear, the need for safety or the idea around that, so the fear, the safety, and the survival, to flourishing. This is our natural state. Flourishing is our natural state. Survival, safety, fear, those are plugins. Plugins of the inverted matrix, plugins of the inverted 3D, 2D, but plugins that the ego likes to use, and it uses it on a regular basis. The flourishing part is creating an environment where you are free, where you are creative, where you are being yourself, and you're not tied down, restricted, or nothing has power over you. That's the difference. Reversing the process of being driven by what we have been exposed to. Many of us are driven by the labels and definitions of what we've been exposed to. Exposed to from birth, exposed through from the family dynamics, from our connections, friendships, and so on. Stuff that we've been exposed to, the educational system, stuff that we've been exposed to the media, and what we are being exposed to every day by so-called self-labeled idea of authority, expertise, and so forth. We're going to look at all of that, and we're going to detangle from that, because in fact, why do we want to be driven any longer with that? It was a cool ride. We had a blast. We had, amazing time with that, but it's time to move on. Shifting your attention away from your adopted beliefs and what you've learned as a way of life. We've all adopted beliefs, concepts, perceptions, ideas. We've adopted it. And what does that mean when we adopt it? We plug it into our reality. And what does it do? It shapes our reality, because we're using that as part of the building block, if you want to call it that. It's part of what we use as the streaming part of it. and what we've learned as a way of life. How many of us said this is our way of life? You know, we're born, we grow up along the way, we learn from other people, we learn from the educational system, we learn from the media, we learn from whatever we're exposed to, and then we adopt, this is our way of life. But how many of you are feeling within yourself that that way of life does not resonate? Why? Because it is not our truest essence of way of life. It is an adopted idea, and that's why it feels that way. Okay, so let's move on. These are all the things that we will be playing with in the workshop, so you don't want to miss it. Dropping the expectations of others to change our world and stepping up to your role. Oops. Come on. There we go. What does that mean? How many of us expect others to fix our world, to change our world, to come up with new things, for the systems to modify or adjust, to change our world, to change our reality, to change our experience? Many of us have these expectations. Expectations on certain individuals, expectations on certain groups and governments and organizations and all types of things that we've put expectations for them to change something so that your life, your world gets better. But we're going to be dropping that and stepping into your role, stepping into your true role. It's not about you coming in and saying somebody else is going to do it. It's you. By stepping in your role, you're already making the changes. It's not outside of you. It never has been, and it was just an illusionary expression being put out. Reversing the process of relinquishing our power to others. That's a big one. How easy do we give our power to others? What does that actually mean, first of all? Well, the moment you say, I don't matter, or the moment you say, oh, I'm going to give you the reins to tell me how to live my life, or you adopt their idea, you've given away from you being your role, adopting somebody else's role, adopting a collective role, an organizational role, whatever you want to call it. The moment you give somebody else or some other organization or group, or even whatever's playing out in the current perceptual world, you're actually giving power to them so that they navigate you. They're the ones that are shaping your reality. Even though they're not, but because you've adopted, you're using what you've adopted, what you've taken on to shape your own reality. So this is what people say, that we give our power away. So it's not the correct word. It's giving our creative capacities and capabilities and giving some of that by utilizing somebody else's ideas, concepts, and so forth in our reality creation. So that's kind of what plays out. Unraveling from the perceived idea of authority. Wow, how many of us have given authority to religious leaders, to governmental leaders, to experts, professors, this and that, scientists, to family, to or individual people, authority to lawmakers and whatever else, or other people that are in certain positions. This is illusionary. That's why I call it perceived idea of authority, because it's just that, a perceived idea. No one has authority over anyone. Period. You're the only one. You are the only one that has authority over your reality, your life. No one, there is no hierarchy. The only hierarchy that exists is an illusionary projection that was created in the inverted matrix, inverted 3D. The inverted matrix said there's people that know and people that don't know, people that govern and people that follow. Some people call it the sheeple and whatever else. Well, the thing is, when we're looking at that, we're giving authority, an illusionary idea that someone is authoritative and they can make the rules, you have to follow. Yes, we're looking at a lot of the systems that do that, but I can tell you every single rule, every single law, every perceptual idea that's been projected as a way of life is all made up, and none of it is real until we make it real because we accept it. And look at whose path are you following and realign. Sometimes we feel that we're doing our own path and say, I'm living my life on my own terms. But are you really? That's something to question yourself. Am I really living my own life, or am I living somebody else's life? Am I living what the mainstream has said, what the movie world has said, what my teachers have said, what my parents have said, what organizations have said, or what they're living? What they're representing, if we adopt what is being represented wholly, fully, completely, then you're living somebody else's. You're living an organization, a group of others, and so forth. Many of us are trying to live our family's, life path. Our partner's life path, our kids' life path. There's many of that. Moving into clarity and understanding from being paralyzed by confusion and overwhelm. So we'll be doing some work around that, moving into clarity and understanding from and understanding from being a paralyzed. So we're just going into clarity and deeper understanding from our paralyzed and overwhelmed state. Because what happens? Many of us gotten paralyzed and overwhelmed with everything that's going on. And we're going to work together to do that. We're going to look at the profound effects on diet, what we watch, what we drink, and where we put our attention and focus on. Because I look at some of the changes and how it supports. Tuning into what really is going on amongst all we hear and are exposed to. Tuning into to really what's going on. Because a lot of times we think what's going on is something, and it's profound, and it's a make it or break it type of thing. But there's more to that. So it's really about looking into really what's going on and what's the purpose. Because a lot of times we think, okay, it's the control structure trying to encompass us and to restrict us and to make our life difficult. But there's a bigger picture to that. And we're going to look at that. Because there's way more going on and much more purposeful than what is being seen, as observed. Seeing beyond the current situation and path. We're going to do some work on that. Seeing beyond our current situation and path. Because many of us are caught up in certain situations and paths and so forth, and feeling that in one way or another that it's overwhelming, it has power over us, and we can't see beyond that. So this is all covered in the workshop, and there's a little bit more. What is the bigger picture? We're going to look at what the bigger picture is for you. The bigger picture of the collective and for you. What does the new world feel like? We're going to do a process to connect. Because a lot of times people say, I don't know what this new world is like. Well, it's in you. And we're going to tap into that. We're going to do the process where you tap into that world that you already brought, the piece of that you brought in within yourself. Because a lot of times, and I've seen this many, many times, where we're talking about what this world that we are really wanting to see in our life, but a lot of people can't describe it because they're not accessing that within themselves. Yeah, maybe they're looking at the outside world and say, okay, well, what looks like the outside world, and looking at it and say, well, I can only imagine having more stuff, or I can imagine more peacefulness, or whatever it is. But there's something way bigger within you. So we're going to look at that. We're going to do a process on that. You have to feel it before you can see it. And we're gonna play with that too, where you can feel it. Whose life have been living and stepping into your own? We're going to look into that. Whose life have you been living and stepping into your own? We're going to do some of the processes around that. And then at the very end, we're going to do, probably be day 2. Well, it would be day 2 for sure. There's going to be processes along the way, and we're going to be doing a lot of that to kind of prepare. So it's not just information here. We're going to walk through all of this. So we're going to do a meditation activation to integrate everything that we've played with during those 2 days, to activate it within yourself and to lock it in so that you can utilize it as you choose to do so. So just to remind you, it will be an interactive workshop with many processes and tools that you will further help you stay in your life's driver seat and steering it in the direction that that brings you into alignment with your higher purpose. And that's what this workshop is about. It's in the link below, the 2 points that you can click. You can go to the registration page and look at what I've just pointed out anyways, and it is donation based, so you don't really have an excuse that you cannot pay the fee or anything of that nature which is charged. I mean, the fee is an investment in yourself, first of all. It supports us because this is what we do, and we put a lot of energy into this and a lot of time into everything that we put together, and we're doing it to assist the collective. So if you click into that, you get to the registration page, and you will be able to see the details we've talked about anyways, and register either for the live stream, which you will get the video and audio recordings, or you can just go for the video and audio recordings. This will be available leading up to the 5th and the 6th, and for the recordings, it will be available for up to a month. After that, it will go into our workshop database, and then there will be full fee for that if you want to get it later. So I would suggest you register ahead of time and contribute the amount. Now, some people will contribute more than the recommended amount. It's not even recommended. It shows what we would normally charge for it and what I've charged for other workshops. And so some people will offer more, and some people will offer less, and some people will offer very small amount just because that's the position they're in. Now, at any point in time, after you've had the 2-day workshop and you feel motivated to contribute a little more, you can always go back and contribute some more, because that will be available also for you at that point in time. We highly, highly appreciate the support that we get. If you haven't followed any of my work, I do have a lot of content and so forth in Advancing Consciousness series, which is on YouTube. It's on Facebook under the group called Advancing Consciousness series. But anyways, I don't have to go through that. We also have a podcast that runs almost daily. At this point in time, we're trying to smoothen it out so that it becomes daily. But there's content, quite a bit of content every week anyways, from the different episodes and the podcast and, extras that we plug in and interviews and whatever else. So there's a lot of content to help you move forward, and all of it is available freely for you. So usually if any support that we receive is also amazing. Anyways, so here we are. This is the workshop. I'm going to bring back the original. Oops, that's the one I want. So we're going to bring it right back. So the workshop is called, it's taking a couple of moments to shift the page. See beyond your current perception to live a new reality. If you're ready to live a new reality and you would like to participate and work together with us, then it's for you. So the date here is December 5th and the 6th from 11 to 5:30, which will be 11 to 6:30. A lot of times it's possible that we'll be on track. Eastern time. So depending on what time zone you're on, it may vary in time. of course. So join us and let's move forward in a big way together. We've come here to play together. We didn't come here to play isolated. We had the opportunity to feel isolated. And a lot of the good things about the workshops, we bring a lot of like-minded people, very intentional people that want to participate and create a shift within themselves and collectively. So by coming on together makes things a lot more powerful. So if you can be part of it, and don't worry if it's you can't be with us live. The energies are locked into the video and audio recordings. Usually it takes about a week to get the video and audio recordings out, but we will have a full run replay, unedited version available usually shortly after, within a few hours after the end of the workshop. We may have because there are 2 days, so a few hours after the first day will be available, and a few hours after the second day, the second version will be available. But then after that, I chop it up, clean it up, and put it into smaller topics and so forth. Basically, like the topics we've just covered now, but in essence, with for you to access and repeat any part of it at any point in time. So thank you for coming together and listening to what I had to offer. I ask you to participate if you feel called to do so. And yeah, let's get together. We'll be within a couple of weeks, depending on when you hear this. It may be less than that. So let's come together and let's play together in this beautiful, powerful, life-transforming, world-transforming workshop that we've put together. And we have co-created together for all of us.